Hey students, this is Mr. Barrett. I want to make sure that I'm continuing to improve as one of your teachers. And one of my favorite ways to make sure that I'm always looking for ways I can improve is to get student feedback. So this is an opportunity for you to evaluate me. Yes, just like a grade almost. You can give me a grade and let me know some ways that I can improve as your teacher. I really appreciate this feedback, so please take the time to read each question carefully and offer me the best, most objective answer that you can. Now here I'm going to go through these questions so that I can hopefully clarify any potential misunderstandings. Okay, so in the area of caring and compassion for all students, the question goes like this. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate Mr. Barrett's level of concern and care for you as a student? So just think about yourself and how we have interacted. Maybe I've had you for multiple school years with and multiple subjects, and you're welcome. You are welcome to think outside of just this year and outside of just this class, but definitely concerning this year as I've taught you and this class that I have you in. Where would you rate me on concern and care for you as a student? And then these questions are going to be attached to all the other questions that follow, and you'll see that. So I'm not going to go over all of these questions individually, but for each major question in each area, please consider answering, what would you suggest Mr. Barrett do to increase 1 or 2 points on the scale? And then what is Mr. Barrett doing well that has you rate me at the number that you chose? So in other words, let me clarify that one. In other words, if you gave me a 4 for personal concern and care, well, then please give me a few suggestions that would put me up to, a 6 or a 7. I mean, especially in a category like this, I would love to be at a 10 for every one of you, but that's probably not, it's probably not actually happening. And so tell me, how can I get to a 7 or an 8? What would you suggest that I do to bump up that scale? So the next time I ask this question to you, you would have me at a 7 or an 8 or hey, maybe even a 10. But then the third question there, what is Mr. Barrett doing well that has you rate him at the number you chose? For that question, please tell me what I am doing well. So in other words, if you gave me a 4 on this question, then there's a reason that I'm not at a 1 or a 2 or a 3. I'm doing something that has you put me at a 4. So give me a little feedback on what I am doing well so that I know to continue to do that. So hopefully that makes sense for each of these questions. And that's the only time I'm going to go over those 2 questions. Otherwise, I'll just read and go over the first question for each category. Classroom management and facilitation. How am I facilitating our classroom environment? How do you feel in our classroom environment? On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate Mr. Barrett's level of ability to keep student behavior managed to a level where a safe learning environment is the norm? Now, keep in mind that no teacher probably has every student, perfectly on task all the time. Well, maybe you do have a few of those teachers, and I certainly need to learn from them. But just keep in mind, we're looking for a relatively well-managed classroom that really promotes and fosters a safe learning environment where when you come to class, you feel like I'm not going to be too distracted from other students. I'm going to be able to get the work done that I need to get done. If I'm acting out or misbehaving, I know Mr. Barrett will correct me in a non-embarrassing way that helps me get back on track and do what I'm supposed to be doing. Those kind of things. All right, positive reinforcement and feedback. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate Mr. Barrett on providing you with encouragement and feedback that helps you continue to grow in our subject area and in your overall personal development? So both of those areas. Do I provide you reinforcement and feedback that helps you grow in the area that we're studying in our learning content and just overall in personal development? Lesson structure. Now, this might look different for all teachers. I tend to have a particular way I like to structure lessons. I learned this as I was going through an education training program. It works for a lot of teachers, and you might see a similar pattern from other teachers. Usually my lessons include some sort of bell work. You're familiar with that term. Then a lesson where I'm usually up front with PowerPoint slides or Google Slides, teaching actually some learning content. Then we usually have some sort of guided practice where I help you along through what I want you to do, or at least give you examples of what I want you to produce. Then you have usually a time of independent practice where you produce the work, where you do the work. And then there's usually some sort of wrap up. A lot of times that's a Google form on your Google Classroom. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate Mr. Barrett on lesson structure? I guess what I'm asking you here is, how does this structure work for you? Now, this may look different for a lot of students. A lot of students may like a more loose structure, and so they may rate me lower on this. Other students may say, yeah, this structure really works, and so you may rate me higher. But I want to try to suit as many students as possible, even in my lesson structure. So I'm interested to know from you where you would rate me here. And then again, how would you suggest I get a few points higher on the scale? And what am I doing that has me at the number that you would rate me? All right, student-centered instruction. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate Mr. Barrett on providing student activities and projects that engage students in learning content, critical thinking, and personal choice? Now, here's the one that probably needs the most clarification. What I'm talking about is the projects and learning activities that I usually come up with, that I usually have you doing. So I'll give you a few examples from recent ones. So recently, we've been working on a letter from hell from Screwtape Letters. So we've been reading in British literature, Screwtape Letters from C.S. Lewis, and your summative assessment, the assessment that you will produce at the end is a letter from hell where, anyways, you know the project. So is that a project, for example, that you would say engages you in learning content, critical thinking, and gives you some personal choice? For philosophy, my philosophy students, this would include our content analysis exercises, where you have a menu of options to choose from to engage in the learning content, usually that specific chapter's content. So again, thinking about those kind of learning activities and projects, where would you rate me on how they engage you with learning content and, of course, critical thinking, and then giving you some personal choice? Okay, and then we are at Logos International School, a Christian school, and so biblical integration or Christian worldview integration is huge for us at Logos International School. And so I'd love to get some feedback from you, whether you're a Christian or not. I'd love to get some feedback from you. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate Mr. Barrett on biblical or Christian worldview integration in learning content? All right, thank you very much for taking this survey.